All right, I've had so many people ask me about my TED experience. I thought I'm just gonna do a video. I'm gonna go from A to Z, talk about the good and the bad, and just bring it all together. So here we go. There's gonna be no editing in this. It's just gonna be one take, and I'm gonna go over notes as well. So starting with my TED reflections, I had zero plans to go to TED this year. It's just life sometimes tells you what you need to be doing. And so I went to a pre-TED conference, met some of the TED directors, and somehow ended up at TED. So sometimes life has other plans for you. When I first went to TED, the first experience was awesome. Like you go in, you pick up your badge, everything was so smooth, and they give you this bag with just a whole bunch of stuff. If you want to check out the stuff that's in there, check out my Instagram, and you'll see all the stuff that I was able to take out from that. But when you come in for the first day at the conference in Vancouver, there was a whole loop, right? Like you can walk around this loop. Each loop is probably about 150 meters each way. So imagine like a square 150 meters. And they had everything set up from like 5 different coffee shops had stands set up. So you can go and grab any coffee that you wanted, any matcha drink that you wanted, any London fog that you wanted. And they were all free. Everything, all the food while you're there is free. It's part of the ticket. So you can have as much as you want. And then they had these candy stations set up and snack stations, and you literally had a wall of beverage coolers with just every type of beverage in there, and then all the different types of like chips and mints, and they would just literally refuel them all the time. You could even get like gummies and candies and they're all like organic. They really thought about like the people that they brought in. It wasn't just like generic brand. So that was like super cool. And then they had all these experiences around, like you can go get a massage, a somatic experience. You could go build a zucchini car and race with your friends. You could do pottery. There's just a whole bunch of stuff. And for lunch and dinner, they would bring in 5 food trucks, all different food trucks for all 4 days. The entire experience was 5 days. But lunch, you would just go up to a food truck, ask for what you wanted. They give it to you, and it's all part of it. And that wasn't the only food there. They would also have a buffet, and the buffet was like really good. Everyone knows that I'm like quite a bit of a foodie. But man, they took care of you like food wise and that experience wise. In terms of like the talks, I think everyone kind of understands the talks at TED. I listened to a whole bunch of them. They basically group them. So you'll have like, 10 or 15 people talk in the morning and then in the afternoon, and they're quick talks, usually about 8 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes, and you're getting something of value out of it. I'll tell you a little bit more about the talks later and what I thought about them. But you learn a whole bunch of different types of stuff. I think the best talks that I found that really resonated with me, one was a guy that had a 60 million following, or 60 or even more. He really large, really large following, and he taught kids about science. He is changing how kids learn science from grade 3 to 8. They spent $60 million to build out these courses so that they can work alongside of teachers in science to kind of bring more experience to the science. And on stage, he basically brought liquid nitrogen, put it in a thing, put ping pongs in, it all blew up, and then he explained the science behind it. And he just really knew how to capture attention. And I love the way that he was solving the problem where everyone talks about how school is really difficult to fix, but he's fixing his part. Another talk that I really enjoyed was a talk about predictions and how whenever someone makes a prediction, they don't actually know what's happening in the future. Obviously, we all know this, but it is a subliminal message to your subconscious of the world they're trying to create and trying to get you to do. So when you think like, tech founders are talking about, everyone's using AI is going this way or that way or blah, 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 like it becomes this prediction that comes to life because they predicted it. And then you're thinking in your subconscious, I must keep using AI because the world's going this way, and we're essentially creating our future. And so it really made me think about whenever I hear predictions on the news for anything to really question what are they really trying to tell me, and are they trying to make me obey to whatever life that they're trying to build, right, for us. Another one was around the experience of just sound, like in the what sound was millions of years ago, and just you would just listen, and it was like surround sound, and then as time went on, they would add the other noises that would come in until humans started coming into the picture, and that was just such a cool experience to have. Another one was talking about, we all talk about intergenerational trauma, but this guy talked about intergenerational joy and the things that you get from your parents. And that was like super cool and a cool mind shift, because I was like, all we talk about is what we get negatively. Why don't we talk about the positive things that we get from our parents and and the generations before us? So that was like really cool. And I think those were some of the biggest talks that I really, really enjoyed. There's so many other ones. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about a few. Outside of though, I don't think most people realize the community and the stuff that goes on outside of the TED room. There are so many people. There was like 1,800 people. Everyone was like such high level humans. So that was like really cool. And outside of just like the talks and stuff, they organized dinners for people to talk. There was brain dates. So like there was one topic and you would go talk on it. You'd be invited into rooms where you had to give up your phone and everything was behind closed doors. And you can't talk about the stuff that you talked about there. So TED is the place that you come to understand what's happening in 3 to 5 years. And I think most of the masterminds and conferences we go to just tell us what we need to do today. And so I think it's a really good conference to just know for that. Also, the entire ecosystem, like there was after parties on after parties. So people had them in their mansions and you would go meet all these really cool people. And I was out to about 1:32 every single night of TED. I was very tired when I was done. But there's just so many things to do and to explore and parties to go to. They really just make it a full event. Some of the really cool people that I met someone that she started a soft serve business in Kenya, and she was bringing in and importing milk from the US until the dollar shifted, and then it was really hard for her to do. So she tried to then use Kenyan farmers to provide the milk and found that it was not possible. The ecosystem wasn't really built. So she built the ecosystem and now has 5,000 liters of milk a day going to her ice cream business and supporting that. And she's continuing to build it to give Kenyans proper milk because they use a lot of powder for everything that they do. So that was like she was so cool. I met someone else that was able to help turn McDonald's around, help build Chipotle, and then he has, I think it was like 5 or 6 of his own brands. One of them was a $300 million candy brand that just has good ingredients. So you just get to meet like really, really high level people, and you can run into anyone. Some of the parties had, billionaires in there. They had people that were just shifting and changing the world. Some of the best neuroscientists. It was just crazy. People talking about consciousness. So it really just opens up your eyes to the different types of people. The TED community is a very strong community. I think people know each other from there. There's people that have been there 20 plus times, 15 plus times, 10 plus times. Like if you're there less than 3 times, you're kind of like an outlier. So I'll talk about that a little bit in a second on how I think the community is aging there. And the last thing is like, man, the final event or the final party was crazy. I think they put probably $2 million into it. And I'm just looking on my phone to see if I can give you like a video to give you a sense of like what's happening. But if I were to show you something like this, right, you can like 100% see how much money and effort they put in. Like this thing had like food carts in there. It had 2 stages of bands singing. You could get food from any direction. You could talk to people. You could do different experiences. You could be dancing in 2 different areas. They had you could ride the cow, and people did that as well. So they really go all out for this event. It's pretty crazy. Now, even though I thought TED was amazing, I want to give you all aspects of it. These are the areas that I've been kind of thinking about that could be improved, or just things I've kind of thought about. Is that 1 out of the 5 talks I felt were good for me. I got something out of it and I was like, oh, this is interesting. It just felt like there was a lot of talks and that the format could kind of change. When you're connecting with people there, there's almost like this like weird social rule where you can't ask what someone does, and people want to go deep really, really fast. But I think in doing that, there's a couple of layers of trust that doesn't get built. And it's not easy for someone from the outside to come in. Like I'm a pretty good connector, and I'm really good at connecting with people, and even I found it a little difficult. Even though I've made my ways around, I think for new people it would be a bit difficult unless they kind of knew what they were getting themselves into. So I've made suggestions to them to like just have mentors that can help guide people when they're there. Getting into parties, the after parties and that kind of stuff, and to meet those like amazing people. Everyone there is amazing, but just like there's different levels of rooms. It takes a good amount of networking and building relationships, so you definitely need to do that. The relationship you build at TED definitely feel like the ones that you will nurture for a long time, in terms of like you want to build them over time, and so the more times you see people, the more you're going to build it. It's not the relationship you can build really, really fast. I built some really good friendships out of TED, and now I got some really, really cool friends in Vancouver that I'm super excited to build relationships with. But yeah, it is more of a longer burn. And I feel like there's like 4 to 5 different types of people at TED, probably even more subcategories. But it's basically you have like people that are worth billions or multi-millions of dollars, and they're just there to look for good businesses to invest in. You have the entrepreneurship layer of people that are actually running businesses and some really legit businesses. And then you have people that are from like the Amazons and the other businesses, and so they might be senior product managers or that type of stuff. And it's kind of interesting how they don't really blend, I feel like, super well. I think that entrepreneurs and the people that are like building and doing stuff are doing some really interesting things. But when you're trying to blend, it was hard to have conversations with people that might not be in the entrepreneurship world, which is fine. You just connect on other things. There are people that were brought there because they were doing great things in the world and they were building these businesses and people wanted to raise money. And there was a lot of people that were artists and doing some really cool stuff on that front. So it was just a crazy mix of people. But regardless of all that stuff, it is the best conference I've been to so far. And I was super excited to potentially go next year again. I'm going to build out a group. So if you're interested, feel free to shoot me a message. And I'm going to build a group and see if I can get a group rate for it, if it's possible. But I definitely want to go to San Diego and, re-experience that, reconnect with people that I met. I think it's one of those events that I'll probably go to every 2 or 3 years and kind of stay in touch with it. Anyways, if you got any questions, feel free to throw them in the comments below or even reach out to me, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Hope this was useful, and we'll chat soon.